Question number 19 on the reading portion of College Board's Test 3. Which choice is supported by the data in the first figure? So this is going to be a graph question. We have to just look at, this is figure 1. All we're going to do is read the answer choices and then see if it's true. It's a very binary with these. When they ask us which one is compatible, which one's true based on a figure, read the answer choice and then just see, is it true based on the graph? The number of students using public transportation is greater than number. So the number of students using public transportation is greater than the number of retirees using public transportation. Is that true? There are more students than retirees. Primary occupation of public transportation passengers. Yeah, of all the public transportation passengers, 10.7% are students, 6.7% are retired. The number of students is greater. Yeah, that's true. Okay, let's look at B. The number of employed people using public transportation. The number of employed people using public transportation and the number of unemployed people is roughly the same. Let's see. The number of employed people and the number of unemployed people are roughly the same. That is not true. No, there's 72% of people employed versus 6.4% unemployed. No. What about C? People employed outside the home are less likely to use public transportation than our homemakers. People outside are less likely to use? No, they're more likely to use it because there's more of them. Homemakers only make think about it. People who need to go somewhere for their job are less likely to use public transportation than people who stay at home? No. If you're employed outside the home, you're the lion's share of the people who use public transportation. So people employed outside the home are less likely, they're more likely. Can't be C. What about D? Unemployed people use public transportation less often than do people employed outside the home. This is such a good bad answer. Oh my God, this is such a fantastic bad answer. Let's understand why. Because a lot of you might have picked D. Because you kind of forgot about A. A was it was just factually true. And we don't like when things are factually true. It scares us. So we have to come up with some weird way of thinking about it in order to make a wrong answer seem right. Which choice is supported by the data? Unemployed people use public transportation less often than do people employed outside the home. And you might be like, well, yeah, it's true. Unemployed people is 6.4, employed outside the home is 72. It's less. The percent's less, therefore it's true. What is this saying? Unemployed people use public transportation less often. This is a frequency thing. Is this telling us how often people ride the transportation? No. This is just saying what the occupation is of transport passengers. For all we know, let's think of it this way. It's saying that unemployed people use public transportation less often, the frequency. What if I told you that employed people go on the bus to go to work and they go on the bus to come home? They use it 2 times a day. What if an unemployed person is going to job interviews? They go to 10 job interviews a day, on and off, on and off, on and off. Even though there are fewer unemployed people who use public transportation, they might be using transportation at a much higher rate or frequency than employed people. So this whole part about less often, the frequency thing, how often people do it, has nothing to do with this graph, because this graph is only about the percent of people who take public transportation. What's their job? What's their occupation? So this was a really good, D was such a devious bad answer because they give it to you at the end after you get rid of B and C, which seems to be pretty easy, things to get rid of, and you immediately look at D, you're like, yeah, less, number is smaller, that's going to be the answer. And you completely forget A was just factually true. Don't get caught with D, unemployed people use public transportation less often. We don't know that. We have nothing, we have no knowledge of frequency. We only have just population and the slice of the population based on occupation. So the answer to number 19 is going to be A.